The movie is based in the near future. A massive asteroid is advancing towards Earth and threatening to wipe out humanity. Therefore, the international community has come together for an operation called the UNMS, which is spearheaded by the Chinese government. It intends to launch a group of super nuclear missiles from a large base on the lunar surface. The plan is to use these missiles to shatter the asteroid and use the moon to shield the remaining debris from hitting Earth. After 8 years of meticulous planning, the missiles are launched and the massive asteroid is successfully destroyed. This sends everyone on Earth into a state of frenzy. Yes! We didn't even have to sacrifice Tommy Lee Jones. Meanwhile, on the moon, the project's maintenance engineer Dugu Yue welcomes the project commander Xing back to the lunar base after she returns from launching the nuclear missiles. It becomes clear that Yue has a major crush on his commander, but the latter reprimands him for being lazy and sends him back to his room. Lo and behold, it's then revealed that one of the nuclear missiles was thrown off course by a solar storm, leaving some of the asteroid fragments heading towards the UNMS moon station. Commander Xing immediately alerts everyone at the base and orders them to rush to the evacuation rockets. However, Yue is lost in his thoughts, oblivious to the threat looming outside, and people say simping isn't dangerous. By the time he notices the warnings and comes to his senses, he learns that all rockets but one have already left the lunar surface. The last rocket is piloted by Xing, and Yue rushes towards her in his space rover. But unfortunately, along the way, he crashes into a gigantic hole, and Xing is forced to take off, leaving him behind. After a while, Yue climbs back to the surface and watches the rocket leaving. At the same time, the asteroids rain down on the lunar surface, destroying everything in their way. Fearing for his life, Yue rushes towards a nearby crater for shelter. However, the impact from an asteroid throws him like a rag doll, knocking him unconscious. Unbeknownst to him, another massive asteroid flies over the moon on its way to the Earth. Yue eventually gains consciousness, and as he begins to cuss out his teammates for leaving him behind, he finally notices the large asteroid on a collision course with Earth. Soon, a gigantic explosion occurs, annihilating a large portion of the Earth's surface. Distraught, Yue immediately rushes back to the lunar base and tries to call for help. However, all his attempts to contact humans are met with silence. Several days pass by, and it soon dawns on Yue that there's a possibility of him being the only human alive in this universe. He goes into despair and starts honoring his fallen friends. The only good thing is that he has enough food to last at least 80 years. One day, he decides to go to his crush/commander Xing's room. The loneliness drives him mad, and he sets up a date with a DIY figure of Xing. After the meal, he makes out with the figure. Something tells me he's done this before. Meanwhile, it's revealed that some humans have managed to survive the asteroid, and Yue's teammates, including Commander Xing, have safely made it back to Earth. Somewhere in an underground base, Commander Xing and the others awkwardly watch Yue go mad and make out with her picture. They feel embarrassed by his actions, but the project's chairman feels that they should establish contact with Yue. He wants to broadcast the story of Yue's survival to everyone alive on Earth, because the ratings on this reality TV show will break all kinds of records. So that they can get a glimmer of hope and combat the terrible living conditions that they're currently facing. However, the only problem is that the asteroid strike has destroyed the communication link between Yue and the base on Earth. Back at the lunar base, Yue notices a ripped food package on the floor. He is taken aback as he doesn't recall opening it. Maybe it was the fake woman that you keep making out with. Suddenly, Yue hears a noise coming from storage, and when he reaches there, he notices a curvy female's shadow. This makes Yue hopeful again, and he starts dreaming of repopulating the Earth. He even starts flirting with the shadow, which he thinks is of a woman. However, to his astonishment, Yue learns that it's a giant kangaroo named Kong, eating away the stored food. Yep, Yue's lost his shit. It turns out that the animal was brought to the lunar base for research purposes. Yue quickly picks up a shovel and tries to scare the animal away from the storeroom, but unfortunately, this only agitates the kangaroo and it beats the life out of him. Unable to beat it with physical force, Yue dresses up as a female kangaroo and tries to seduce Kong. The trick works for a while, but it soon backfires on Yue when the kangaroo gets excited and tries to have coitus with him. Surely Yue was expecting this and is quite excited. In the process, Kong knocks off Yue's costume, exposing him. This infuriates the kangaroo even more, and it kicks Yue across the room. As everyone on Earth watches in astonishment, a stubborn Yue pulls out his Gatling gun and indiscriminately fires at Kong with plastic balls. Kong appears to retreat, but after a while, it comes back and pounds Yue continuously. After hours of back and forth, the fight comes to an end when they both knock each other out on the ground. As Yue picks himself up off the ground, he notices that the communication device is receiving signals from Earth. This again lights a glimmer of hope in Yue that maybe humanity has survived. However, unbeknownst to him, it's revealed that the signal was caused by the kangaroo's tail. After regaining the will to return home, Yue emotionally tells Kong that they might have a chance to return home again. However, the kangaroo ruins the moment and punches him again. 200 days have passed by since the incident, and now Yue has learned to coexist with the kangaroo. He has also conjured up an escape plan to Earth. He wants to utilize the spacecraft left behind by mission Apollo 18 to launch himself to a nearby space station and use its escape pods to return back to Earth. One day, Yue sets out to retrieve the spacecraft with Kong. The two eventually manage to bring it back into the base, but Yue realizes that the rocket can only carry a weight of 20 pounds. The problem can only be solved if he can find a different propulsion system. Luckily, the prototype for a nuclear weapon is still on the moon, so Yue decides to go and retrieve it. After gearing up with the necessary essentials, Yue immediately ventures out with Kong to retrieve the nuclear rocket. He is aware that the journey may take weeks, as the research building housing the rocket is located on the other side of the moon. Back on Earth, Commander Xing and the others watch them anxiously, because Yue's vehicle is solely solar-powered, and the sun only shines on the moon's surface for 14 days per lunar cycle. This means that the car can only travel 6,500 kilometers, but the research building is situated 8,000 kilometers away from Yue's base. After the sun sets on the moon, Yue is going to be stranded in the middle of nowhere and freeze to death. Just when all hope seems to be lost, Xing and the others notice that Yue is actually headed in the opposite direction. It turns out he is planning to chase the sunlight, as the moon only rotates at 16 kilometers per hour. This gives Yue exactly 41 days to complete his mission, where he can only sleep for 4 hours a day. With the days passing by, he becomes very dreary and even starts hallucinating. Fortunately, Kong is there to motivate him to keep going, and there's no shot that he's going to hallucinate anything weirder than that. After a long and perilous journey, the two finally arrive at the research facility. Inside, Yue finds the nuclear warhead and carefully lowers it to the ground. However, the kangaroo starts playing with the control buttons, endangering the mission and sending Yue into panic mode. On his way back to the home base with the warhead, Yue locks Kong inside his trunk to stop him from jeopardizing the mission again. It's a long and rough journey, so Yue plays loud music to keep himself entertained. As a result, he doesn't notice when the trunk carrying the kangaroo separates from the vehicle. After traveling hundreds of kilometers, Yue finally realizes that Kong has been left behind because of his mistake. Now, Yue is faced with a difficult decision. If he goes back to get Kong, he will lose the sunlight, and the vehicle will stop working. But if he doesn't go, Kong will freeze to death. Either my imaginary kangaroo friend dies, or we both die. It's a no-brainer. Yue contemplates for a bit and eventually decides to go head back and retrieve the kangaroo, putting his own life in danger. After hours of traveling in the opposite direction, he makes it to the truck and reunites with his friend. The two share an emotional moment, and just like a puppy, Kong licks him out of excitement. The two then set out on their journey towards the base, while trying not to fall asleep as the sun continues to move farther away from their vehicle. Unfortunately, even after their best efforts, the sun eludes the two, making it impossible for them to survive. Hey, at least Yue got licked by a kangaroo on the moon. Despite this, Yue refuses to give up, and he continues to drive the vehicle as it is forced into its last hours of battery. He also turns off the heat to conserve as much energy as possible. Eventually, the car runs out of battery, and it comes to a halt 55 kilometers away from their base. Now, the duo only has 3 hours of oxygen left, and Yue finally gives up. He emerges from the vehicle and awaits his death. However, an idea suddenly strikes him when he notices that his animal friend is attracted to the reflection from his mirror. He quickly pulls out the door of his vehicle and transforms it into a sled, which will be powered by Kong. Oh sweet, I thought he was gonna murder Kong and live inside of his skin. Yue then flashes light beams in front of the kangaroo to make him chase them. The trick works, and he starts sliding across the moon's surface like Santa Claus. After a while, the two come across a giant pit, but Yue again refuses to give up and instructs Kong to jump over it. As they fly over the giant hole, he unleashes the gas tank on his back, which gives them enough thrust required to make it to the other side, and eventually to the base. Checkmate, Vin Diesel. Back on Earth, the project's chairman chairman broadcasts Yue's journey to the remaining humans, and it gives them courage and hope for humanity's survival. It also earns him a crap ton of ad revenue on Twitch. On the moon, Yue eventually brings back the giant warhead and prepares for his return to Earth. Unbeknownst to him, it's revealed that a second asteroid is headed towards Earth. Later, Yue receives another signal and becomes hopeful that the surviving humans on Earth are trying to contact him. Unfortunately, his happiness soon turns into disappointment when he sees that it is actually coming because the kangaroo is messing with the wires. Hence, Yue again loses hope and decides to abort his mission. However, the people back on Earth refuse to let him give up and think of an idea to contact him. All of them gather at one particular place and collectively shine their flashlights towards the moon. Yue eventually notices the signal and is moved to tears, realizing that he is not the only human alive. Later, with reinvigorated motivation, he realigns the receivers and is finally able to contact the humans on Earth, including his crush, Commander Xing. In a private moment, Yue confesses to Xing that she was the sole reason for him to come on the UNMS mission. Xing is moved by his confession, and she apologizes for leaving him behind. In the next scene, Yue, with the help of his teammates back on Earth, starts modifying the propulsion system of the rocket using the atomic weapon so it can take him back home. After completing the setup, Yue and Kong embark on their journey and safely enter the orbit, unaware that a second asteroid is heading directly for Earth. While the humans back home celebrate, Yue reaches the lunar space station. As he prepares to enter the escape pods, Commander Xing finally learns about the asteroid that is threatening to annihilate the planet Earth. The UNMS HQ then realizes that only Yue can save humanity, as he is in possession of the nuclear weapon on board the lunar space station. Left with no choice, Xing breaks the news to Yue, and surprisingly, he agrees to sacrifice himself to save humanity. Finally, there is a point to simping after all. Following this, UNMS orders everyone back on Earth to return to their shelters and prepare for the worst. Meanwhile, in space, Yue tearfully bids goodbye to Kong and sends him back to Earth in an escape pod. Why didn't he take the escape pod and shoot the goddamn kangaroo at the thing? Yue is an emotional wreck, but he collects himself as he has been tasked to save humanity. After a while, Yue heads towards the asteroid and enters a cluster of giant rocks. He tries his best to avoid them, but his surroundings become more crowded and chaotic. A rock eventually collides with his ship, causing the vessel to spin violently in space. Yue scrambles to stabilize the ship that's completely out of control. Eventually, he comes up with a solution. He breaks open the door of the ship and uses it to equalize the pressure, finally bringing the rotation to a halt. Yue then checks on the ship's engine, only to learn that it has been completely destroyed and can no longer lead him to the asteroid. Left with no other choice, he decides to manually take the nuclear bomb to the giant asteroid. This means that Yue dies an extremely painful death. However, without a second thought, he ventures out and unlocks the warhead. Then he uses his jetpack to head straight towards the massive asteroid, while dragging the nuclear warhead with him. Yue's spacesuit is slowly destroyed by the countless rocks, but he finally reaches the asteroid. In his last moment, he remembers his crush, Commander Xing, before a huge explosion takes place, and the asteroid is blown into smithereens. Back on Earth, people finally emerge from their shelters and notice the giant explosion in the sky. They are elated to have survived the apocalypse, but are also sad that Yue has sacrificed himself. Several years pass by, and the humans have restored Earth to its former glory. The kangaroo Kong is returned back to its natural habitat, while Commander Xing and her team are again sent back to the moon, so they can continue their work of protecting the Earth from extraterrestrial threats. I was kinda hoping Kong would end up with Xing. Subscribe for more videos like this. Turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.